How's this for an intro?
Is this
Hello.
for an intro? Hello.
Hello.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I don't know what we're gonna see. Josh, how is your screen oriented?
Right now it is all ass backwards, but
Nice.
I have it on gallery view. So like it's like a little trifecta of like on the
Yeah.
chip.
Speaking of Josh,
I don't.
Yeah, hey,
we have a new guy. How are you doing, sir? Welcome.
I am
Welcome to the podcast.
doing well. Thank you. Glad to be on.
Welcome to the shit
Well,
show.
we have my little brother Josh, who's going to be joining us. Not really little anymore, I suppose, since he's tall as shit. But he's going to be joining us and bringing us to you and helping. So, Josh, why don't you do the boring? All right, kids, go around the class. Tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your least favorite spot to be touched?
Favorite spot to be
Hey,
touched
yo,
is
what the-
definitely the forehead and
Not really, though. Tell everybody about you.
Okay, my name's Josh. I'm CJ's brother. I was there for literally anything you could imagine CJ has been or has raced, and I raced with them online. I feel like I know a good bit about motorsports from CJ and Chris and all of us, working together. So I think it's nice, and I'm happy to get started because I've heard a lot about it and I like it. So.
It's a fun shit show that's organized as all hell for the
Yep.
most part. And we're gonna try to sit here and talk about motorsports with you, and hopefully this becomes a little thing, and we'll see how it all goes. It's
If
gonna
you
be
guys
fun.
want to start, we can
Yeah.
go straight into Monaco.
Oh, yeah.
One of the best Monaco GPs I've seen in a minute. I think so.
Dude, I did not understand the delay at all. None of that made any sense
You wanna
me.
know why?
Like, they could have.
Because Americans run the sport.
when you got that
I don't know.
Liberty media money, you can do whatever you want.
But I mean, I just don't understand the reasoning behind it. Like, I don't understand what they needed to stop for. I get that they didn't want to send drivers out if there was an unsafe level of rain, but it wasn't really.
When they brought him in the first time, no, that was you could see it when they brought him in. Like the rain was bad.
Yeah, I just don't understand waiting an hour. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get me wrong. I love that the strategy.
40 minutes?
Yeah, I don't know. It bothered me, but it did make for a nice segue into the Indy 500. Because
Yeah, it was a quick segue. I didn't have a whole lot of time between the two.
I would just like to remind now that Josh's role with us is going to kind of be, he'll be chiming in as Chris and I go about with our typical deal and fact checking with us. But if you could fact check for me, who called the F1 winner last week?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I almost hit mine
I
on
would
a
take
tee,
that
but Ferrari
one.
effed up the strategy pretty bad. Who else did you take throughout the weekend, huh? Do we want to discuss that, because that one was
There's a lot of stuff to unload if we break all three of the races down, but I think Monaco, there's questions. The questions that people have had in regards, like, does it have a place in the calendar anymore still, I think are very valid. Without some sort of revamp, like forget what the chicane is called after the tunnel, coming out of the tunnel. Why can't that just be straight lined? You know what I mean? That would have made such a great passing zone down into where the yachts are. You come out of the tunnel, you come downhill, and then there's that hard chicane. I forget what the name of the chicane is called. It's
Nupo?
Maribel.
Maribel. Thank you.
Maribel.
See, this is why Josh is here. I'm so happy. Maribel. Why? Like, if they straight lined that and kind of have like a flowing.
That's always
section.
had a little kink since its inception. It's always had a little.
Well, I think like you take Monaco and you look like you got to think also that race has been on the calendar since 1929, and it's like F1's. Like, the way I've always heard it is like F1's Daytona 500, F1's Super Bowl. Like, it's the spectacle. I think you can't, because obviously, like, newer cars on that old style of track that was designed from the 30s is not going to be the best. But I think you keep it on there because of the magnitude of and like the spectacle of the Grand Prix.
I look at F1, and for the NASCAR people listening to this, I look at Monaco Grand Prix as, yes, the Daytona 500 meets the Southern 500. You have your biggest race of the year and your most traditional race of the year. Like, there's not
What
a
I
bigger
mean, though,
race
is
in the F1 calendar, and if we get rid of Monaco, I think that's going to kill a lot to the sport.
I don't think that Monaco needs to go away. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't think that Monaco should be gone. I guess rather, what do you guys think it would take to make that track up to par? I mean, like, okay.
Not the track. It's the cars. They're too big.
I think they need to make the track itself wider.
They can't,
that's
though.
What kind of saying
it's public roads. Like,
that's the thing. Like, you can't really make it wide.
You have to change the configuration so there's better brake zones, because right now you don't have anywhere to set anybody up. There's only one DRS zone on the front straight. That's really the only passing zone in the entire racetrack. You can kind of get into the chicane,
into the chicane out of the tunnel.
Maribel, out of the tunnel.
You can do out of the tunnel, last corner, and like turn one. Those are really, and maybe if you sneak someone up in that corner before the hairpin, you can kind of get someone there. But I think
I look at like what they did with Abu Dhabi and Yas Marina, and a couple of the tracks that have had slight reprofilings done.
You can't just reprofile a street course. Like,
yeah, that is true. That is like a lot of public contracts, and that is going to be
the city of. What do you think you're doing? Like,
think of it this way too. Monaco pays the least, the minimum entry fee. Monaco is the only venue that Formula One allows to pay the minimum amount. I think it's 15 million. Like, it's not even it's like such a small amount that a lot of teams are in fact, wait a second, like they're not actually putting anything into the pot. Like Dale Jr. Download had mentioned with Denny Hamlin, one of these past episodes, talking about how if there's more teams, you're diluting the pot because you have more people now to split things with. And so part of what pays F1 teams and gives them money is the fact that, like, Circuit of the Americas pays F1 like millions, tens of millions of dollars to have them come and race. And so that's kind of what generates the sport's economic workings, if you will.
Yeah.
And Monaco is paying the least amount. So, like, yeah, sure, of course they're going to be like, hey, you know what? Since you guys aren't paying anything, how about this? We would like you to foot the bill to change the track up a little bit. You know what I mean? And I will say that Mick Schumacher's crash actually made me scared at first, and I saw it, but very happy once I did, because you would think the speeds that they're running a tight track like that Tech Pro and the way the car just disassembled, that was really nice to see how safe these things still are.
That's
especially after Grosjean.
This weekend was entire pain for me in terms of watching my drivers, but
you did not have a good weekend, dude.
No, you didn't. Not at all. That is something I want to know how you guys feel. Is Mick Schumacher at Haas? He's coming into his second season, and this year already he's crashed a good bit.
You want to know what's going to keep him in that seat? That MSC that shows up on the driver pylon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that the other thing to remember with Mick Schumacher is it's a lot of like Ty Gibbs isms, right? You got to give people time to mature a bit. Like, granted, Ty Gibbs has a lot of raw talent, which is questionable if Mick does. But what the point I'm trying to make is, like, you got to give a driver an environment and a place for him to flourish and to do well. Look at Chastain in the Cup Series, right?
It doesn't help that first season that he got was with another rookie who had no idea what was going on.
Right.
They both went into that season blind and were still blind at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Because Haas didn't do anything to the cars. They basically told him that you're not going to get development on the cars. They also don't have a simulator like all the rest of the teams on the F1 field have. Like, they basically have the F1 game. That's it for like
they don't have the same facilities at all to train. I think K-Mag is going to do a really good job with Mick. But like I'm saying, you got to give him time.
I think he can help him a lot. If
K-Mag is seriously,
if Magnussen wants to be like, okay, I can actually like be a teammate now, because with Grosjean, it was like, what are you doing? Like, Grosjean was wrecking both of them.
Yes.
For Mick, it's kind of like, okay, you can do good at some races. I can do good. I mean, I'll probably end up doing better, but you can still do good some races. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I just think, too, that, you've heard a lot of guys talk about, like George Russell. I think it's fascinating to listen to him talk about, now being in the Mercedes, how much he thinks he's learned from having to be in a mid-pack car. And you saw that yesterday. The top 4 finished under a blanket just about. And I thought that strategy from Checo was brilliant. But my point is, right,
F strategy so bad.
that level of wheel to wheel and like you're really just kind of leaning on one another. And Kevin Magnussen did fantastic at that when he was in IMSA in Chip Ganassi's Cadillac. So like you look at that kind of a guy who's used to that sort of a thing. I think that would help Mick a lot. I think that K-Mag is probably going to go back to Haas and be like, okay, I'll stay as your number 2.5 or 1.5, whatever you need it to be. But
I think we saw probably, and I've already said this once before, but I think we saw the most organized shit show of a greatest day of racing. Because all three were organized shit show from start to end.
I was trying to hang on towards the end of the 600, but we'll get there.
There